We are live here in Paris at Paris Blockchain Week, the last day of the conference. I'm here with Dyma Budorin, co-founder and CEO of Hacken.
Yes, that's me. Hi.
How you
to
doing
meet
today?
Doing great. And you?
I'm doing fantastically. Before we get into Hacken and everything you guys are doing and your kind of like the trends that are happening in the space, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your background and how you got into blockchain, because I know you have a traditional finance background.
Yeah. I did. I was working 8 years at Deloitte when I even didn't graduated from the university. I started working there. Then I was a little bit working for Ukrainian government. Then I luckily explored and discovered crypto. And now 8 years almost we are building hacking the crypto Deloitte, I would say.
So you launched it in 2017.
Yep.
What have been some of the changes that have happened since that time?
It's like too many changes, of course.
How about
I mean,
key turning points
key turning points for hacking or for the industry.
for Hacken, and then you can kind of weave the industry into there.
Okay. Well, like we were doing like obviously we first of all we were kind of lucky to enter the crypto space because we just randomly participated in the pitching competition. We had a shitty deck. It was really bad. But the idea was quite cool. We wanted some of our employees. They were actively bug hunting, and there was an idea to create a tokenized bug bounty platform. And with this idea and with like proven experience, we won at the pitching competition 33 bitcoins. And from the stage, one investor said, "I'm gonna put $500,000 to your projects, just do an ICO," and that's what we did back in those days. But eventually, like the first wave of ICOs was first of all it was with broken tokenomics, most of them.
Right.
So we had, and we didn't raise like eventually we didn't raise much, so we had to focus on revenue and building products. And it was hard, like to be a Ukrainian company, to compete with big US companies and Chinese companies on the global market. But we were doing a lot of researches of the industry that's got attention of a lot of investors, a lot of decision makers, and the turning points in our history were when we started to tightly cooperate with CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko.
Okay. Fascinating. What would you say are some of the biggest security risks in Web3 today?
I think it's all individual risks. So, like I would say, Web3 wallets are still very insecure, not in terms of that they can be hacked, like from the backdoors or whatever, but in terms of the usage. So there is no 2FA by design in MetaMask, for example,
Right.
and it creates the situation where almost everybody, at least once, he signed some shitty smart contract and he got some and he lost some funds. I did, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, so and only after you lose money in this way, you started, like to have this immune system that is in your brains that you always think twice, 3 times when you're looking into new projects and yeah, and links. So I would say that in terms of the smart contract, I would say that we as an industry did a pretty good job, and we see a very clear trend that smart contracts hacks are less and less and less. So, and if we have a look at the recent hacks, obviously, like Bybit is the biggest, but generally the most of the hacks are happening from the Web2 risks, poor operational security of exchanges, of brokers, and so on. These are they are the main targets right now of hackers.
So what about centralized exchanges in general? What do you think is fundamentally wrong with the way so many of them operate?
All everything.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we didn't like actually the landscape of centralized exchanges in terms of transparency and accountability didn't change a lot.
Wow.
And like maybe security became a little bit better, but still, we have so many hacks. Like, not all of them are doing proof of reserves, which is very small, which is the minimum thing that they have to do in order, to prove their solvency and to prove that they are not manipulating
Right.
the client deposits. But in general, even those big exchanges, they do proof of reserves not on the all assets, and all the dirty things are happening with the small coins. And what I really want, I want to see the centralized exchanges started to have a full transparency of the users, user funds, and user data. Like, we don't know how many holders are there at the centralized exchanges. We don't know how active they're in terms of trading. We don't know how active they're in terms of money movements. I really want to know this data. And simple reasons why they don't do it, because they know a lot of examples when people are forgetting about their accounts, they're losing their accounts, and simply they take those monies, So we need, as an industry, to act, and our voice should be very strong, so to change this situation and demand from centralized exchanges the level of transparency, accountability as from the Nasdaq or any other biggest stock exchanges.
Do you think we've learned our lessons from FTX, or do you think we're still repeating old patterns?
Absolutely no. It's like absolutely no. It's, I know there are still a lot of unsolvent exchanges that are touching user deposits, and and they're just waiting until they collapse.
Okay. Where do you see centralized exchanges going in the next couple of years? Do you see them evolving?
So I know that there are very good examples. I'm a big fan of Bybit, to be honest. Why? Because they are doing everything proper in terms of the financials, and they are going to be one of the first exchanges who will receive the federal level license. I don't want to say which one, but it will be soon in the news. And this license is gonna cover the whole global platform. This is quite unique thing because other exchanges are not doing that. They're receiving local licenses, and they for small legal entity, and that's a very big step, and that's gonna be example that all other exchanges will need to follow. And hopefully after that, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, they will start highlighting exchanges who have license, which means they passed very big checks on everything they do, and community will start requiring licenses as well from the exchanges.
So how important are certifications in building trust?
I mean, it's at the moment there is no certification, no licenses, in terms of. So we cannot talk about it yet.
What about the CCSSA?
CCSS, yeah, okay, okay, thank you. Because because CCSS is covering operational security, which is the best that we have right now in the industry.
Right.
It's more complicated than ISO certificates or SOC 2 certificates that's US exchanges usually doing. But I mean, it still doesn't cover the financials. Doesn't cover, I want the certificate that's proven that exchange is doing a proper due diligence on tokens that they are listing, that they verify who investors, that they publicly disclose the circulation supply, the terms that they listed, insiders,
Right.
the wallets of the team that's on the exchange and how they are selling or not selling.
Right.
I want to see this data,
Okay, I hear it. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'd like to hear, kind of looking back, what's one lesson that really stuck with you as you move forward into 2025, to the rest of 2025 and beyond?
I would say that generally investors, they should start focusing more on fundamentals rather than hype.
Okay.
And fundamentals are revenues, are clients that the company is working or partners, because hype is a very temporary thing that's just which basically fools you.
Right.
And the projects that are focusing on the hype, not on the product or revenue, they will usually don't last long. We saw like we already like saw 3 generations minimum of the projects like appearing, disappearing, then the same founders again appearing, disappearing, and they at some of them they had very hype cycles and downs, and they don't care. So yeah, fundamentals is what should survive our industry.
Okay, there you have it. Dima, thank you so
Yeah,
much. I
thank you.
appreciate the time so much.
Thanks.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a house.
No, we do not understand that we do not want.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Rebecca's Genzio Media House.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.